An article that I wanted to talk about on this particular platform at this point. An article from the Daily Sun written by Umbali over there, and she said on this article it says a random bus shooting, 1 dead and 2 were hurt. Now before we go into the article, I want to highlight this type of a crime. I think I've done this before when we had, I think it was the second if not the third tavern shooting. For those outside the country, tavern, it's like a beer hall or so, just the kind of like low end type of club, low end, kind of like no entry payment, those type of pubs. So this rage type, like if you were to like sit down and profile what kind of a person does a crime like this, it's kind of like rage type of criminal behavior. And I said, this is not a thing in South Africa. We didn't have this type of things in South Africa a lot. And remember, as the church, we stand in the gap when we see patterns, because you understand the stronghold effect and the whole nine quarters. You understand all of those things. And so you can see where does this type of thing come from. And now from the guys who are in discipleship class, we've done profiling. We did profiling some time ago. And so if you go back into that, this is where it fits. Where do you think this type of things come from? And to those who are Christian, but they don't understand discipleship, they'll say, what does this have to do with church? I'm sorry that you have been blinded by your church. See, your church made you feel like preaching and opening Bible verses in public. That's all the church does. So I am sorry that that's all you've been thinking, but that's as far of an apology as I can give. Discipleship transitions from the building to the outside. And I think, what does this have to do with church? Shame on you. And so this particular story came up, and you read down, it says the scene of a shooting incident in Redcliffe, north of Durban. Tuesday night. Now, why is this important? When I lost a friend to gun violence in Durban, and the testimony of the person who was with the friend who was with my friend who got shot mentioned this thing. These were just kids. These were not like some hardened criminal. It's that there's this new breed of criminals that are just kids that get enticed into local gangs and whatnots and stuff like that, and so they're getting into this life. So if we have that framework to work from, it helps us to understand the type of thing. And I remember when I actually got to their house, they asked me, "How did you get here? This place is very dangerous." They were worried for me. You read down in this article, and it says 2 men entered a bus, like all passengers were, and however, they entered the bus not to travel. Instead, their aim was to kill passengers. Notice, they were not going for a person that they know. They were not there because someone had wronged them. They were there to do what they felt was right. No, they just went in because they wanted to kill people. Type of a crime. It's a type. This type of things, we used to see them in the US. You see them in mostly Asian countries. You see them in the Middle East. Extreme poverty areas, addiction areas, places which are not well tended when it comes to mental illness and all those kind of things. They pulled out guns, randomly opened fire towards those who were inside before jumping off and escaping. It says this random shooting led to the death of a bus driver, while a bus conductor sustained injury. So they sort of like the 2 people that were right at the front. We have a lot of room to feel. When you start seeing random crimes like this, like they were not there to steal. No, they were there to kill, you know. I remember like way back in 2011, 12, 13, 14, all the way up until 16, 17, these type of crimes were very popular in the US. You hear about someone just jumped on top of someone and just almost chewed their face off. Just a random act of weird behavior. Pregnant woman, bus conductor, and the bus driver. Bus driver has kids, probably, or has family that's dependent on him. Do they deserve not having, so that you can be a child, so that the ones who are doing this are kids? No, they are kids we should recognize. You have to understand that this is a root of a certain type of a crime. Targeted. It's not like they were there because someone had done them wrong. You know, someone had done them wrong. Yeah, we still have to talk about that. But now, random people, and not even targeting rich people. No. Just people in the bus. You have a car, you have to deal with hijackers and kidnappers. You are looking for the Bolts and the Ubers. You now have to risk people, kidnappers. Now you have this who are just acting out. It's a type. It's a type. It's a warring type. They just walked in to the bus, shot random people. It's rage. You have to ask yourself, where does this rage come from? What kind of an environment do they have? What kind of an environment have they allowed to influence them? That's making them feel I have the right to take someone's life. Think about it. Because then that makes you effective at knowing how you speak, what kind of a message you need for the youth. When you are able to, this type of crimes, it's not the first time here. We've seen them in Limpopo. It's a growing issue. It's a growing issue. This kids getting into all kinds of violent crimes. You ask yourself, what's going on? All these guys like who are mass murderers and whatnots, serial killers and whatnot. Most of them didn't do that because they knew the person. Most of them did that because they felt a certain type of rage towards a certain type of a person. You look at the ones who were either, you see guys who were mass murderers. They only murder prostitutes. Then you'll have a certain type of a murderer who only kills women with blonde hair. I remember seeing one particular documentary about another serial killer, and he was actually about to kill this other woman. And luckily, imagine, I even have to say luckily on a thing like that. Luckily, she took off her head. And that's how we got the details of what kind of a serial killer this guy was, because luckily she took off her head. And when she took off her head, he said, "Oh, lucky you're not a brunette." And so she didn't think anything of it. She thought, okay, what does that mean? Only later to see, wow, that's the guy who gave me a lift and blah, blah, blah. And he said, and then you look at all the victims, they were a certain type of a thingy. So what kind of rage are we seeing here? Is this poverty rage? Middle class rage? Where we have we have a social media world that portrays rich families, or that portrays fake life, most of them. And so these kids now hate that they grew up in a place where it doesn't reflect with what they see on social media. Because the kind of people that they're targeting what they hate. They're targeting the average person. They're targeting the everyday working person. So think about it. What is it that brings that? Where does it come from? And if you look at over the last couple of years, there's been all this entrepreneur talk and all that entire jazz, right? There's been all this, business minded. Everybody's talking about that, starting a business and whatnot. And there's these fake forex traders who, countless of them, just continuously exposed for lies. But they've peddled enough of their content before these kids start to feel like, why don't I have? And what is it that they hate? They hate the average person. They hate the average. Now, it sounds weird because you'd say, but you are the average person. And we don't just come from nowhere. You don't just become, you don't just become part of those that are doing well. You have to come from somewhere. And that's why, in my view, the expression of rage towards the average person. You think about the crime, those guys who were shooting up taverns. Now, that's a very complex one. That's a very complex one. Is it occultic? What is it? It's a certain type, but it's a type that you didn't see before. And we're starting to see that type now. Heads up. When you see rage crimes, not even, crimes of passion, not even, he killed someone that he knew, or he killed his girlfriend. That's a different type. Rage, it's a different kind. The rage kind is a very different kind because it targets even random people that don't know anything. Yeah, tell me your thoughts in the comment section. I know it leaves a lot to think about, but it's a type of a crime. It's not the kind we used to see a lot of, but now, here you go. We went from the tavern shootings, now we are here. They went from shooting people in the tavern at night. Now, they're coming for people coming from work. What is there? Now tell me your thoughts down in the comment section. It's Ricky. Stay blessed, stay prayed up.